Welcome to the Tipping Point Show. I'm Jimmy Evans. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. I'm teaching, this is my fourth installment, teaching from my book, Look Up, Waiting the Rapture and Our Final Redemption. This is a very encouraging book talking about what happens when Jesus comes back. You know, Jesus told us to look up and lift up our heads when we saw these things begin to happen. Before I get into this teaching, let me tell you a couple of things, just reminding you. We have our conference coming up September 16th at Grapevine. This is by the DFW airport right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's going to be a phenomenal day, by the way. September 16th is during Rosh Hashanah. I believe some year Jesus will return. The rapture will occur during Rosh Hashanah. That's my personal opinion. The Feast of Trumpets is a very important feast. It's a 2-day feast. So we don't know the day or the hour, but we certainly know that there's going to be a fulfillment of that feast. So we're going to all be together during the Feast of Trumpets this year. At the conference, we have Dr. Tony Evans. This is his first year at the conference. Brilliant Bible scholar and an end times expert. He'll be teaching there at the conference with Rabbi Jonathan Cahn. Rabbi Jonathan Cahn always has just such an unbelievable revelation that he is going to share with us, and he will be at the conference sharing another revelation that God has given him concerning the times that we're living in. We have Pastor Ed Young, who is the pastor of Fellowship Church. He'll also be there teaching. Billy Crone, Dr. Mark Hitchcock, myself will all be there. We're going to have a great day. We'll have our panel again, our Q&A panel. And so we're making some adjustments this year just based on the input that we received last year. But yet last year was a fantastic conference. But one of the differences this year is we have reserved seating. So the seats range in price from $99 to $149. The best seats right there at the front are $149. And you can reserve them. Now, if you're a paid subscriber of endtimes.com, this is not a subscriber of YouTube, but if you're a paid subscriber of endtimes.com, you get a 50% discount. So go on there. You can. You'll see that it's filling up. The best seats are filling. They're going quickly. Get a good seat. Go ahead and make your reservations now. It's going to be a great time. And we're going to Israel. We're going to Israel from from November 29th to December the 8th. We already have over 200 people signed up, so this is going to be a wonderful trip. We're going to have hundreds of people there with us. I'll be joining you throughout the countryside of Israel, and I'm going to be teaching a lot about the end times. I can't wait to stand on the Mount of Olives and the Valley of Megiddo and all these different, significant end time places and teach you there in the Holy Land. It's going to be exciting to be there together. So sign up for the conference, sign up for the Israel trip, and you go on endtimes.com to sign up for both of those. And we want you to do that. I want to be able, the only time I get to really meet people and to shake hands and get to know people is during conferences and trips and things like that. So I can't wait to be with you. Endtimes.com, go on there and sign up for the conference and for the trip. Now, Jesus said, this is Luke 21, Jesus concerning the end times, he's answering a question now of when the end is going to come. And Jesus said, there will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and on the earth, distress of nations with perplexity. This is absolutely true today. We have unbelievable distress of nations today. Perplexity means there's no answers. The sea and the waves roaring, that means the sea and the waves in the Bible talks about nations. It talks about people. Could be talking about, some kind of a global climate thing, but it talks about people. The sea and the waves roaring, people, there's unrest of people. That's true all over the world. Men's hearts failing them from fear. That word is phobos in the Greek for fear there. It means terror. It means fear and terror. This is happening. People are becoming overwhelmed with what's happening in the world. And the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. That means the demonic powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads because your redemption draws near. Now, the whole point of my book and the whole point of these teachings is I don't think we know what that means. When Jesus says, look up and lift up your heads, your redemption is drawing near, I don't think that we really focus enough on what the word redemption means, because we can become so overwhelmed. And it's overwhelming what's happening in the world right now. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the things that are happening. I'm going to talk here in just a minute about some things that are in the news. But it's incredible what is happening right now in the world. Jesus said, don't be overwhelmed by what's happening around you. Look up. Look, get your eyes on heaven, because you're about to be redeemed. Redeem means to buy back. It means you had something, you lost it, and now you're about to get it back. Well, Adam and Eve lost everything. But we're about to get everything back plus some. And it's unbelievable. I mean, it's incredible when you think of what's about to happen in the twinkling of an eye. And it could happen at any moment. You know, I believe that Jesus, the rapture, will probably occur during the Feast of Trumpets some year. Jesus can come anytime he wants to. And we always need to be ready for Jesus to return. But in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye, we get everything back. And what I want to talk about today in this show is redeemed intimacy. I want to talk about getting our intimacy with God back. Now, Adam and Eve lost their immortality. They were immortal. They would have never died if they wouldn't have sinned. They had perfect bodies. They were in paradise, total pleasure, no pain. They had authority over the earth. Their home was in Eden until they got kicked out because of their sin. But they had the intimate relationship with God in the garden, incredible intimate relationship with God, and that's what they lost. I believe the most important thing that we're going to get back is the intimate relationship, the face-to-face relationship. Aren't you tired of praying to the ceiling or the wall or whatever? I mean, prayer is very important, and I love to pray. I want to see Jesus' face. I want to have a face-to-face eternal relationship. Did you know that when we see his face, we will never be separated from him again for all of eternity? And we won't have this invisible, you know, we're told that we walk by faith, not by sight. That's until Jesus comes, and then we'll walk by sight. 1 Corinthians 13:12 says, now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I am also known. And there are two very important elements to that scripture. The first is we will no longer have a frustrating, invisible relationship with Jesus. It'll be face to face. I mean, it's just incredible to think that, you know, we've lived all of our lives, all of us who are believers, we lived all of our lives loving Jesus and following Jesus, and we can't see him. And so the other thing is we will no longer have any ignorance of who Jesus is. We will know him perfectly. We will know as we have been known. We'll have a perfect knowledge of Jesus. Think about that for just a minute, what that will be like. And even though Jesus died on the cross to save us from our sins and to redeem our relationship with God, we've only received a down payment of our full redemption. Ephesians 1 says, in him you also trusted, after you heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, in whom also, having believed, you were sealed with the Holy Spirit of promise, who is the guarantee of our inheritance until the redemption of the purchased possession, to the praise of glory. He's the down payment. The Holy Spirit is the down payment that we receive when we get saved. But the fullness that we are going to get when Jesus comes, this face-to-face, intimate relationship with Jesus. Now, I want to say to you, I know a lot of us are living in this world and we have pain. You know, we have frustration in relationships and just, you know, we just have so many things that we're lacking in this life in every area, but also relationally. Can I tell you that you'll never have another hurt? You'll never have another unmet need for all of eternity when Jesus comes. You'll never feel unloved again. You'll never feel rejected again. You'll never feel unimportant again. You'll never feel ostracized again. You'll never feel like you don't measure up again. You're going to be in a perfect body with perfect authority in an intimate face-to-face relationship with Jesus. Now, the point that I'm making now is really important because you guys, I'm going to answer some questions here in just a little while on the subscriber portion of the show. One of the most important questions that we get is, will we know each other in heaven? Will we know Jesus in heaven? I mean, how well will we know Jesus? Will he be like on the other side of heaven and we don't get to see him? We know he's there, but whatever. We will see him face to face and we'll have an intimate relationship with each other. But also we get a lot of questions of, will I know my mother in heaven? Will we know our relatives in heaven? Will we know our spouses in heaven and our children? You know, and there's a lot of anxiety. I know that a lot of people have of, will we be together as a family? Okay, in the Old Testament, when people died, it says they were gathered to their ancestors. They were gathered to their relatives. I absolutely believe that we'll be with our families in heaven, with our children, with our spouses, with our grandfather, with our mother, dad, all that kind of stuff. And so, but the question is, will we know each other in heaven? We don't know each other now. We really don't. I mean, my wife and I, we've been married 50 years. In about 3 weeks, we celebrate our 50th anniversary. I think I know her as well as I could possibly know her. You know, every time I think I really know her, you know, she kind of surprises me. But, you know, we don't know each other now. We're guarded. You know, I don't know that I would be able to tell a person all about myself, even if I could. But there won't be any filters. There won't be any ego or anything. Won't that be incredible? You're never afraid to answer a question. You're never afraid for anyone to see into your soul, into the innermost being of who you really are. And so finally in heaven, we will know each other. Finally in heaven, we will know each other. See, some people have a concept of heaven that we're just kind of ghosts, that we're floating around. We kind of have a lobotomy. Jesus comes by, we kind of know him. Our mother passes us, we don't know her, and all that kind of stuff. That's just crazy. Is that on earth, this is where we don't really know people. And even though that sounds funny that, we're kind of ghosts with lobotomies, a lot of people have that concept of God and concept of eternity. We will finally know each other, and it will be a perfect eternal knowledge of Jesus and each other, and we will be in a perfect relationship for all of eternity. Perfect peace, perfect love, perfect harmony. You'll know all your relatives personally. They'll know you. And there'll never be another family fight. There'll never be another misunderstanding. There'll never be any more hurt feelings and things like that. And remember now, there is no devil. And our sin nature is gone. When we're in eternity, when Jesus comes, the instant that Jesus comes, it's over. I mean, we never have to deal with the devil again the way that we do right now. No ego, no pride, no competition, no jealousy or envy or dysfunction, no past hurts or bad memories. We will all be able to fully love without fear for all of eternity. But most important of all, we will know God perfectly and be married to Jesus as his eternal wife. We'll have a face-to-face relationship. And so that's why Jesus said that we should lift our heads up and look up, because our redemption is drawing near. Our perfect eternal relationship with Jesus could happen at any second. Let me read you Revelation 21, because this is talking about what we have to look forward to. It says, "Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband." Let me stop right there and say, a lot of people say, well, New Jerusalem is the bride of Christ. No, New Jerusalem is where the bride of Christ lives. That's where we live with Jesus. We are in the New Jerusalem. We're the bride of Christ. Heard a loud voice from heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." Then he who sat on the throne said, "Behold, I make all things new." And he said to me, "Write, for these words are true and faithful." He said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of water of life freely to him who thirsts. He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son." So that's a picture of our full redemption. And so having said all that, I want to kind of answer some questions, a couple of questions in this. And the first question I want to answer is, why didn't I list knowledge? In the things that I talk about in Look Up, or the things I've talked about as I've been teaching in this series, why didn't I list knowledge is one of the things that we get back. Now, we do get redeemed minds. That just means, all the nonsense and junk is gone. But one of the things, Adam and Eve didn't lose knowledge. When they fell, I don't think they had a lot of knowledge, honestly. I mean, if they had a lot of knowledge, they wouldn't have done what they did. And so why don't I list knowledge is one of the things that we get redeemed when Jesus comes. And let me answer that and say, see, I don't think God gave Adam and Eve knowledge. I think God gave them himself. So, these things that you have in your house, Alexis or whatever it's called, that Alexa that you ask questions to, that you can talk to. I think it's eerie, personally. I don't want one of those in my house listening to me, but I know people have them. And they ask it questions, and it answers and stuff like that. See, God, they didn't have an Alexa in the Garden of Eden. They had God himself. See, God loves being a father. He loves being a parent. And he could have zapped Adam and Eve with knowledge the way he gave them authority, the way he gave them eternal life, the way he gave them the Garden of Eden, all of those kinds. God could have just zapped it into them. That's not what he wants. He wants to be a father. He loves the journey as a parent. He loves to be needed. And so you have to understand, God is relational. I was thinking to myself when I got saved, somebody told me I need to pray. And one day I was praying, and it was hard. I didn't like it. And I remember thinking to myself one day, why does God make me pray? I mean, he already knows what I need. I mean, if he loves me, why didn't he just do it? Well, let me explain. That would be like getting married and saying to your spouse, why do I have to talk to you? I mean, you know what I want. I've told you 8 times what I want. Just do it. That would just take away all the joy of the relationship, and you're together to meet each other's needs. You're together to have the journey of life with someone. God wanted a relationship with Adam and Eve as their father. He wanted them to come to him and say, you know, Lord, right over there, we saw this animal over there, and we don't really know what's happening. Would you help us out here? And he would say, absolutely. That's why he lived with them. He loves being a father. He loves being depended upon. But see, the attraction of the forbidden fruit was instant knowledge. See, Satan told Adam and Eve, if you'll eat of that fruit over there, then you'll know everything. You'll be like God, understanding everything. And so they took the fruit and they ate it. And of course they fell because they rejected the dependent relationship with God. God created us to walk in a totally dependent relationship with him. You say, how do you know that? Well, one of the most common analogies in the Bible of our relationship with God is a shepherd and sheep. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. This is John chapter 10. Jesus said, I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep, but a hireling, he who is not the shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. The wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. And so Jesus is our shepherd. God is our shepherd. And sheep, so you say shepherd and sheep, well, sheep are totally dependent creatures. They can't navigate. You've never heard of a homing sheep. They can't bear burdens. You've never heard of a pack sheep. And they can't defend themselves. You've never heard of an attack sheep. Sheep are just these fluffy, cute little animals that absolutely, totally need a shepherd. They have to have a shepherd. And so that's who we are. When God looks at us, he knows that we can't navigate. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't see around the corner. We can't bear burdens. I mean, we get stressed out so easy anyway, and we can't defend ourselves. I mean, not in the sense of without God, without spiritual authority, we can't. So God says, hey, let me be your father. See, the word that Jesus used that revolutionized the world was father. When he began to teach in Matthew chapter 6, in the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, then he said, here's how I want you to pray. Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. He said, your Father knows everything you need before you're asked. Your Father. See, that concept really didn't exist in the Old Testament. God was a God on mountaintops with thunder and lightning and behind a curtain that you couldn't see. Only one man could see one time a year. But then in the New Testament, Jesus came in the flesh and he then revealed God in a very different way. God loves being our Father. Let me say it another way. So Jesus said, pray every day, give us this day our daily bread. That's one of the lines of the Lord's Prayer. Have you ever just wanted God to give you just a whole bunch of money right now? I mean, have you ever thought to yourself, I wish I had enough money where I never had to pray again. I could just be independently wealthy for the rest of my life. Great. I mean, good. But did you understand that one of the reasons that God doesn't give us everything we want right now is because we wouldn't need him? I have my magic wand theory. If I could pass out magic wands to everybody and I could say to you, this is a magic wand, you can do anything you want with this magic wand. It's magic. And if you'll take this magic wand and wave it over yourself, you can change anything you want to change. Okay. And here's what would happen. If you had a magic wand and you could wave this magic wand and change anything in your life you wanted to change, when you were finished, you wouldn't need God. You'd be strong, you'd be healthy, you'd be rich, you'd be famous. You would take every vulnerability and need in your life and you would wave it away and God would be unnecessary. That's exactly what the devil promised with the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they went for it. See, I've learned in 50 years of following Jesus, he loves being dependent upon. He loves me coming back to him every day and saying, Father, I'm trusting you today for more guidance. I'm trusting you today for more provision. I'm trusting you today for this. I'm trusting you today for this. And that's how our relationship with God grows. And so in heaven, we certainly will have the mind of Christ. We certainly will have tremendous amount of knowledge. But we'll be his wife. We will have this relationship with Jesus for all eternity, where we're still dependent upon him to meet our needs, to be our God, to do the things for us that we cannot do for ourselves, because we're not omnipotent when we go to heaven, but we're with the omnipotent one, and he will be there to take care of us. So mankind has always chafed at obedience, and that's the devil's open door. This is Isaiah 53. This is talking about Jesus coming to die for our sins, but listen to the reason it says that Jesus came to die for our sins. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we were healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. See, it's this despising dependence is the root of sin and why we're so vulnerable. The nature of sin. See, the devil came and he did something to Adam and Eve. And so they have God, they live with God, very God of very God. And he loves them. He lives with them in the Garden of Eden, and he'll answer any question. He'll do anything for them that they want because he loves that dependent relationship. And the devil comes to them and says, I'll make you a trade. I'll trade you something for someone. I'll give you a piece of fruit, and you won't need that guy over there anymore. And they took that deal. See, the devil's still making that deal. I'll give you success. I'll give you money. I'll give you popularity. I'll give you more followers, over here. I'll give you anything as long as you don't have to depend on him. And so where intimacy with God comes from is loving our dependence upon God, embracing our dependence upon God. We need God, and he loves to be needed. He loves being needed. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I would hate it if my children or grandchildren didn't need me. I want them to need me. I want them to need me in a healthy way, but I want them to need me because I love being a father and I love being a grandfather. The devil's never had to change his strategy in deceiving human beings because it's still working. This is 1 John chapter 2. Do not love the world. Now listen, I want you to listen to the comparison here. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world is passing away in the lust of it. But he who does the will of God abides forever. Can you understand there? So John is saying here, you can have the Father, or you can have the world, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. That you can depend on the Father, and he'll give you provision, he'll bless you, he'll walk with you. See, understand this, the richest person in the universe wants to take care of you. The smartest person in the universe wants to guide you and take care of you. The most powerful person in the universe wants to protect you. All you have to do is depend on him. Or you can turn to the world. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And this is what you see today. And John is saying, if you depend on this, you're not loving him. You're not in a relationship with him. And so God did not give us knowledge in the Garden of Eden because he gave us himself. And today it's the same way. See, every time I get a message, like this message that I'm teaching right now, I go through the same process. I have an office in my home. I sit down in my chair and I pray and I ask the Lord to give me a message. I just say, Lord, lead me and give me a message. And I sit there until the Lord begins to speak to me. And I get that message finished and prepare it and teach it. And he gives me another one. He gives me another one. But what I don't have is this endless library in my mind where I can just, come up with a message like that. It's my relationship with God. He is the one who gives me guidance. He's the one who gives me the provision for everything that I do. He's the one. My relationship with God is everything. So we have today an intimacy with the Lord as much as we depend on him. To the degree that we depend on him is the degree that we have an intimate relationship with him. Now, I can't wait, and I'm so thankful for all that God has done in my life. I can't wait. He's the perfect Father. You have the perfect Father. And I say this to people sometime when they didn't have a good father growing up. Stop grieving about the father you didn't have and start celebrating the fact that you have a perfect Father today. God the Father is a perfect Father. He loves you more than you'll ever comprehend. He wants to daddy you. And the good news is this. When Jesus comes, with all the things that are happening in the world, it is truly announcing the arrival of Jesus. With everything that's happening in the world, I don't believe we're living in the last days. I believe we're living at the end of the end times, the last of the last days. And what I believe is, in the twinkling of an eye, we're going to see Jesus face to face, and we will have this perfect intimacy with God, and we will know him as we have been known, and we will be his eternal wife, and he will take care of us for all of eternity. It's beyond anything that any of us can comprehend. But that's why I teach, that's why I wrote this book, Look Up. It's encouraging, is that, I don't want to just write books about the end times and all the trouble that's happening in the world, though some of that's necessary. I want to write about what's about to happen when Jesus comes, that we'll understand. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be beyond anything that we can comprehend in this life. So I hope that that's encouraging to you. Now, if you are a subscriber of endtimes.com, I want you to stay tuned, because I'm going to talk about some things that are happening in the news. I'm also going to answer questions from our viewers. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not a subscriber, go to endtimes.com, become a subscriber. $7 a month, $77 a year. We would love to have you become a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, stay tuned. Now, you can't watch the entire program on YouTube. You have to go to endtimes.com to watch the entire program, or respond to the email that we sent you. If you're a subscriber, stay tuned. Welcome back. Let me talk for just a minute about some of the things that are happening in the news. This is an article that I have here from Fox News. I actually saw this last week. It says, new UN-backed legal recommendations normalize sex with minors, outrage critics say. And the subtitle here is, children may consent to sex with adults. This has been the plan all along, social media influencer charges. And it says, a shocking report issued by international legal experts with the backing of the United Nations appears to open the floodgates to normalize sex with minors. Sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual in fact, if not in law, the Geneva-based International Commission of Jurists wrote. So what they're saying in here, let me read you one more line here. According to the United Nations, children may consent to sex with adults. This has been the plan all along. Social media influencer Ian Miles Chong tweeted over the weekend to his 538,000 followers. And so we are seeing lawlessness in our society like never before. We had in Chicago all these hundreds of young people, looting and beating people up on the street and causing all kinds of mayhem and stomping on all cars. This was planned on social media. In California, we had hundreds of people attack a gas station, destroying the gas station, stealing $1,000 of merchandise. Again, it was a mob and it was planned. What we see is lawlessness. We have now the George Soros prosecutors all over the United States. And there was a man in New York City murdered 2 people and within days was out without bond. And so this is lawlessness. This is how you know that the Antichrist is coming, is we are seeing palpable lawlessness within our society. Now, not every community is the same way. And so I live in Texas, and where we live, there's a spirit of law and order for sure. And I'm very thankful for that. But around the nation, we see George Soros. If he's an Antichrist figure, and I don't think he's the Antichrist, but he's certainly an Antichrist figure. He's doing everything he can to disrupt the United States of America by putting these prosecutors in that will not abide by the law. They believe that the police are bad and that law-abiding citizens are bad, but the criminals need sympathy. It's just the most bizarre thing in the world. But this is the lawlessness. When it says here that normalizing sex with minors here, that's the lawless one. The Antichrist is called the lawless one. He's against the Bible. He's against authority. He's against these age-old morals that we know that it's wrong to have sex with children. Not anymore. And so this has been pushed. People said, the NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Lovers Association, very well financed. They have been making an effort for decades to legalize sex with minors. And so now we see a UN-backed plan to normalize sex with minors. This is what's being said here in this article. Let me say one other thing, and I'm just, because I want to do a teaching on this in the near future. I saw a interview recently between Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk. I know many of you saw that. And Elon Musk was talking about AI and the dangers of AI. Well, first of all, AI is, this is the first year. I know the concept of AI has been out for many years, but this is really the first year that we have AI living with us in a real way in our society. and it's scaring everyone a lot. Some people are talking about outlawing it, that Congress is talking about making laws to limit it. But Elon Musk said in this interview with Tucker Carlson that he's very concerned about AI and what it could do to destroy society. And Tucker asked him specifically, how would AI do that? Well, he said, well, the AI could write articles and send these articles out through social media or whatever means, and AI could do it in a very manipulative fashion to deceive people into believing something that wasn't true and starting an uprising. This is what Elon Musk said. So I don't believe that AI is the Antichrist, but I believe that the Antichrist could very well access AI to do exactly what he said, and that is to deceive the nations. But also what Elon Musk was saying is, if you program AI with a lie, it'll tell that lie. The AI has to be programmed before it can operate. And he was talking about misinformation. Now, Google, according to Elon Musk, the founder of Google, he said he wants to be the digital or the AI god, basically. And Google, they're the main player in the AI space, but they're for profit and they're private. They're closed source. The ChatGPT and others are more open source, and Microsoft and other players are in that space. And Elon Musk is saying he wants to get involved in it, but he's very concerned. I just believe from everything that I see in the news every single day. A teacher got fired this week for saying good morning girls to some girls in her class. She got fired, and she had to apologize for the girls, just for saying the word girls. This culture war that is happening right now is the clearest good versus evil thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And this is what you see. The Bud Light controversy that's been going on now, where they put this man dressed up like a woman on the Bud Light can, and they've lost $5 billion in value, and it continues to drop because of the repercussions of that. That gives me hope. That just tells me there's a lot of people out there that are sick and tired of getting this stuff shoved down their throats. And you may tell me something I have to do at work, but I don't have to buy your beer. And so that there are a lot of people out there in the church and believers, and even just some reasonable people out there, that they reject all this nonsense. Well, I'm telling you, we're dealing with an Antichrist spirit. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul said, the coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan with all unrighteous deception. In other words, you know that the Antichrist is about to show up because of the activity of Satan and the deception that's coming. So this level of deception of what in the Navy right now can take the child of any person in the Navy and give them contraceptives, help them to transition their sex, teach them about sex, and not tell the parent about that. Is the Pentagon, the U.S. government is a part of this woke revolution. We've never seen anything like it in the history of the United States or the world. There's never been anything happen like this. The Antichrist spirit is here. And as believers, we need to recognize that. This is not enlightenment. This is not, and it won't go away. What we're seeing is the announcement, just as we see the signs of the time announcing the arrival of Jesus, the signs of the time right now are announcing the arrival of the Antichrist. This is his world. For the first time in my life, I know if the Antichrist arrived right now, that he would be wildly accepted by the world. If the rapture happens and believers are taken out and the Antichrist appears the next moment, they will worship him. This is his world. They will love everything he believes in because he doesn't believe a word of the Bible. And so be strong is all I'm saying. Stand. Make decisions. Don't buy a person's product who's trying to shove stuff down your throat that you don't believe in. You have a lot of power monetarily, but also the power of prayer to constantly be praying, but also the power of voting and of being a citizen. And so do all three of those things. And I'm telling you, keep the faith, be strong, because Jesus is coming soon. Let me answer some questions you guys have written in. Really good questions. This is from Hala. I hope I'm saying that right. Do you think an earthquake is how Damascus would be destroyed? Isaiah 17 says it would be a ruinous heap. Isaiah 17:1, the burden against Damascus, behold, Damascus will cease from being a city and it will be a ruinous heap. Now, Damascus is the longest continually inhabited city in the world. Some people believe that this was fulfilled in the past. It was not, because Damascus is still there. It says here, Damascus will cease from being a city. It is a city still today. It's going to be destroyed. It's going to become a ruinous heap. I do not believe it'll be an earthquake. Could be. I don't think it will be. I believe Israel is going to destroy them. There are several wars. I believe what you're reading here is about like a tactical nuclear weapon or some type of just an overwhelming strike against Damascus. Now, Israel's bombing Damascus pretty much every day right now. The Iranians are using the Damascus airport. The Israelis have put the Damascus airport out of service many times because the Iranians are flying in their weapons and all of their provisions for trying to build a fortress on the northern border of Israel in anticipation of attacking Israel. So this is a very serious thing. And so Damascus is already in the crosshairs of Israel. But we have three wars coming up. One is the Jeremiah 49 war on Elam. This is a strike, I believe, from Israel to southern Iran. Elam is southern Iran, and where they have a lot of their nuclear installations and a lot of their missile batteries. And so I believe that Israel is going to strike Iran. In response to that, the Psalm 83 war, which is a regional war of Israel and her immediate neighbors. Now, when Israel has been practicing bombing Iran, immediately after they practiced that, they practiced defending their borders. Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Islamic Jihad, they know the Iranians, everybody's going to attack them, and they know that. Well, I believe that very well could be the fulfillment of Psalm 83, and Israel destroys the enemy. In Psalm 83, Israel has an overwhelming victory against that enemy, and I believe part of that could very well be the destruction of Damascus. If that doesn't do it, right on the heels of that, you have the Ezekiel 38 and 39 Gog-Magog war, where you have Russia, what's left of Iran, Turkey, other nations there that come and attack Israel, and God destroys them on the mountains of Israel. The Israelis don't destroy them. God destroys them, and God gets all the glory. I believe Damascus will be destroyed in the midst of all the wars, especially the Psalm 83 and the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war. And I believe it will be destroyed militarily. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's going to happen. Something like that. This is Chris. Is the Gog-Magog war pre-Armageddon or pre-tribulation? Okay. I believe it's pre-tribulation. I believe personally, now other people disagree with this, you have to understand, the Gog and Magog war, we win. God wins that war. Israel, they come to try to destroy Israel and take plunder. Israel has trillions of cubic feet of natural gas. I think it's 31 trillion cubic feet of natural gas there in the Mediterranean Sea. They're rich beyond belief with energy. And the Russians want that because remember the Nord Stream pipeline got blown up and they've got all kinds of problems, energy issues. So they want that. They want that. And of course, Iran and Turkey, they want Israel. They want them gone. So they're going to attack Israel and God's going to destroy them supernaturally. Well, why is that important? Because in the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, there's peace. The Antichrist, according to Daniel 9, the Antichrist will make or confirm a covenant with Israel for 7 years. That's very clear from Daniel chapter 9. Okay. Now, in the middle of that, he violates it and he goes into a rebuilt temple in Jerusalem, and he declares that he's God. That's Matthew 24, that's 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, that's Revelation 13, that's Daniel chapter 9. And so he declares himself God. All hell breaks loose. Jesus said, great tribulation will come upon the world, such as never happened before, and unless those days have been cut short, no flesh would have survived. Zechariah 12, 13, and 14 give us a picture of the world marching on Jerusalem, and it says only 1/3 of the Jews will survive that time. Okay, the Great Tribulation, Jesus said, flee for your life. When you see that happen, you get out of town because 2/3 of the Jews will be killed. So here's what I'm saying. In the Psalm 83 war, which is a regional war between Israel and her neighbors, Israel routs them. Israel destroys them, according to Psalm 83. Okay, like in the days of Gideon with the Midianites, it's going to be a rout of those enemies. When the nations of Ezekiel 38, 39 attack, God destroys them right there. Again, Israel has a miraculous victory. So between the Psalm 83 war and the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, you don't have casualties. You don't have many casualties anyway with Israel. in the tribulation, the first half of the tribulation, you just don't see war. Okay, it might be, but I don't see how that happens. In the second half of the tribulation, it's just a bloodbath. In other words, if the Gog and Magog war is in the second half of the tribulation, Israel wins. They don't come down to, God destroys them, but they don't destroy Israel. Okay, so it doesn't make, and it takes 7 months to bury the dead and 7 years to clean up the debris. And so that doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me that the Gog and Magog war is pre-tribulation, and that would give them enough time to clean up from it. And it also sets the stage for the events of the tribulation, which in my opinion don't measure up to the Gog and Magog war. This is Ryan. When the rapture happens and pregnant women are left behind, do their unborn babies get raptured out of their wombs? I don't know. I really don't know, Ryan. And I've said this before, and I hope I'm wrong about this. According to 1 Corinthians 7, I believe that children are sanctified by a believing parent, having a believing parent. And I believe that when the rapture comes, all children, all Christian children under the age of accountability go with their parents, period. That includes a baby in the womb. That includes everything. Okay. Above accountability, I don't know. I think when you have teenage children that don't believe, you need to pray for them, try to lead them to Christ, take them to church, whatever you can do. I just don't believe that, I hope I'm wrong in what I'm about to say. I don't believe that God has an obligation to unbelievers the way he does to believers. I don't believe he has a protection for unbelievers. The tribulation is about unbelievers who've rejected Jesus. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all children, believers and unbelievers, go to heaven, when the rapture happens. But I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have the same confidence of saying that as I do knowing that God will not take a believer to heaven and leave their little kids down here to suffer during the tribulation. That is just simply not like God. This is Kim. Where is America in all the end times events? Kim, we're really just not there very much. I'm going to show you a couple of scriptures here. America's in decline. We're not great anymore the way we used to be. And I know that there's a lot of great things about America, but we're in decline. The rapture will decimate America. When the rapture happens, and I think there's supposed to be over 100 million evangelical Christians in America, but let's just say that 60 million Americans go up in the rapture. I think there's 330 million people in America, citizens right now. 60 million people, 70 million people leaving. It will decimate our military, our government, everything. It'll decimate us. So we're just not great. The good news is we're not a part of the Antichrist conspiracy, the Gog-Magog conspiracy. It doesn't look like we're there. Here's a couple of possible places where we might be in Bible prophecy. Ezekiel 38. Now, this is the Gog and Magog war. In response to the Gog and Magog coalition invading Israel, it says, Sheba, Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish, and all their young lions will say to you, have you come to take plunder? Have you gathered your army to take booty, to carry away silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, to take great plunder? Sheba and Dedan, that's the Arabian Peninsula. That would be Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, those kinds of countries there. And they're questioning, hey, what are you up to? It also says the merchants of Tarshish and their young lions. I believe that's England, Britain. That's Great Britain. Some people think it's Spain. I believe it's Great Britain. The young lions of Tarshish would be Canada, the United States, the colonies. And this also geopolitically lines up with the reality of the world right now. And Saudi Arabia has been pro-America, pro-West. Certainly Great Britain and the United States are pro-Israel. And so it makes sense if the Gog and Magog coalition comes down, we're not a part of that, but we're asking a question, what are you doing? Okay. Now, we may be pretty impotent at that point in time. And so all we have the ability to do is just kind of say, hey, what's going on here? We're really not interfering militarily. Another place where we could be in Bible prophecy, Revelation 12, when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. This is talking about Israel, the woman who gave birth to the male child. This is Israel. And Jesus, the child is Jesus. Israel, of course, is where Jesus was born. He was born of the Jews. And so this is talking about the tribulation. And the Antichrist comes to try to devour, try to destroy Israel. It says, but the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she's nourished for 3.5 years. Okay, that could refer to America. It could refer to, a spirit, an angel or whatever that helps Israel out there. It could be that America has some kind of rescue mission that we're helping to get Israel into the wilderness there so they can be saved from what the Antichrist is trying to do to them. Could be. We're just not very prominent, that's for sure. And so I believe part of it's because of the rapture. I believe part of it's because we are so compromised as a nation. I just don't think it's going to be very much longer where we're not, especially after the rapture. Before the rapture, we're still going to be present. But look at China right now. Look at Iran. Look at Russia. Look at all that's happening in the East, especially. The rising up of powers. We know that Europe, a revived Roman Empire, is where the Antichrist will come from. Daniel chapter 9 makes that crystal clear. He's going to arise from a revived Roman Empire, which was basically the EU, the Middle East, parts of the Middle East and Northern Africa. And so that's going to be a powerful place. We know that there's the kings of the East that come to march on Jerusalem during Armageddon and things like that. So there will be areas of the world that are substantial at that point in time. I just don't think America is going to be a big deal for the reasons I just stated. Hey, I hope that this has been helpful to you. I'll be back next time, and I'm going to be not teaching again on Look Up, but I'll be teaching on something else. Can't wait to see you. God bless you. See you next time. Bye-bye.